In today's video, we're going to be going through the process for reversing a journal entry that was included in a prior period and then creating that entry in the current period. So, using True Accounting, we're going to have the ability to basically remove the sale from one period, put it in the other, while conducting all of those movements within this current period. Our example today is a pay request here that was dated in October, but for whatever reason needs to be pushed over to the month of November. So we've included this pay request in our October sales, and again, we just need to be able to move those out of October into November, but conducting all of that movement in November. As we know, using True Accounting, when we close a period, it disallows us the ability to change any posted journal entries without unlocking that period. So without further ado, we're going to go and first track down our posted journal entry for October. So we're going to need to head to the financial module and then the posted journal. Now selected our posted journal. Next, we're going to utilize our filter here to kind of identify, where this record exists and be able to pull it up in the system and conduct the correct movements for this reversal entry. Obviously, by default here, we've got a lot of different options to choose from to track down this journal entry. Because I know the specific dollar amount, I'm going to cheat and use that. As we can see here, I've now returned our pay request that was posted in October. And now it's up to me to be able to conduct the correct movements to, reverse this entry in the current period. In this case, we're going to use November, and then actually duplicate this entry because we need to be able to reverse it and then also include it, in the subsequent period. So our first option, our first step, is by selecting the gear icon, we are going to choose the reverse entry button. True is simply going to ask us, are we sure we want to create a reversing journal entry? We're going to select OK. Now, when I create this reversal entry, we have several fields here that need to be adjusted. With today's date being December 14th, True is going to by default say, hey, we're going to reverse this entry using today's date and today's period. In this particular instance, we're going to want to actually change this to the period of November. Now, such as all things with True Accounting, it's very important that all journal entries contain a date and a period. We can see here that we leave the date by design open. We want our users to be able to, add in this date accordingly. It's kind of another system of checks and balances that, hey, we're reversing this entry out of a prior period, and now it's up to us to designate where it needs to go. We can also see that our period by default is adhering to today's date. Now we change it to 11/15 because that's where I want the sale to fall on that particular day for our financials. So I'll next select the pencil icon and choose November 2022. Some other designations that we saw in that original entry were some class designations. We find oftentimes that folks that utilize classes also need to adjust these as well when they're creating these reversal entries. So we expect that users to update this information accordingly. We've created a reversal entry. We can see that we're now debiting sales, we're crediting accounts receivable, and crediting accounts receivable retention. We're reversing that journal entry that was originally posted in October. Now our work isn't done. We obviously want to post this journal entry that reverses the sale, but we also need to duplicate the original journal entry so we can actually reverse the sale out that occurred in October, but then recreate the sale in the period of November. I'm first going to post our reversal entry to the November period. True will just give us the message that the record was successfully posted. Now, rather than going to the posted journal and refiltering the data and refinding that original entry that was from October, True is going to allow us to utilize our back button here, which will take us back to that original sales entry that occurred in October that we now need to duplicate upon reversing it in November. We now need to add this sale in November. True also gives us the ability to duplicate journal entries. It's a really heavily utilized field for this very specific activity where entries need to be moved from one period to another, and it won't force us to have to unlock periods or regenerate statements. This is our ability to move those entries while also keeping that locked period of October sacred. So I'll go ahead and utilize the duplicate journal entry button. Here again, True is kind of identifying that, hey, we're going to use the current date and the current period based on today's date. And as such, we're going to actually date this to November. We're going to keep it in November 15th. And then I'm also going to utilize the drop-down menu for our period in which it needs to be posted. We can see now that True has updated the journal entry accordingly, and I have the ability to now post the journal entry. Our work is basically completed on the financial side. I think it is important to make sure that we are aware that when we look at the pay request, because that entry, that original journal entry, was in fact made and posted in October, the period was locked, True is not going to redate the operational side data to coincide with the changes that happened on the financial side. Very distinct dread line in the sand between True accounting and the operational side of True kind of disallows us to be able to update these dates. Now, keep in mind, when we produce subsequent pay requests, we are going to be able to see, as an example, our previous billings to date. Our AIA will be generated accordingly, and we'll be able to capture all of those sales in the periods in which they need to be created in for our AIA style billing. Now, outside of reversing and duplicating an entry, which we just conducted, to move that sale from October to November, should we need to actually change or modify some dates here, we don't have the ability to do that. As we can see, the system is saying, hey, we do not allow invoice dates to be changed because these records are already posted. So if there's in fact a reason or a necessity to be able to move this operational data from one period to the other, that will require users to unlock the period, delete the entry, modify it on the operational side, and then create and repost that subsequent entry.